Alright, so a few months ago I moved house, and in that time I've been building a brand new studio. The old room was a fantastic space and I've been trying to make this new one even better. The room is almost finished now and there will be a full build video coming soon, but even though I have most of the setups done, one major part has remained idle collecting dust since the move. My racing sim. You see, in my old room the sim was powered by my gaming PC as it was right next to my gaming setup. But now it's over the other side of the room and I don't want wires trailing all the way around. I could hook it up to this PC, but this is my editing PC and has 0 games installed. So instead, we're going for the third option, building a dedicated PC solely for the sim. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Let's do this. So yes, it's been painful leaving my sim to gather dust in the corner these past few months, but it's finally time to get it back in action and put together a dedicated PC build solely for the sim. Over the past couple of months while I've been putting together the rest of the room, I've also been gathering parts to put together an epic PC build to take my sim racing experience up a notch. And in today's video, we're going to assemble it and take it for a spin. But you're probably thinking, where are you going to fit a third PC build? There's no room on the end of the desk, there's not really any space down the side of the sim, so what's the plan? Well, this is where things get cool. You see, I'm actually going to be putting this PC up on the wall. Well, sort of. I'm going to be installing a shelf behind the sim monitor and the PC is going to go on there on display looking really cool. The idea was born from the lack of space in the smaller room and the fact that it would look pretty epic. So let's crack on and get things sorted. Before we start the build itself, let's run through all the parts I'm going to be using. I've teamed up with my friends at Corsair and Gigabyte Aorus for this PC and we've really kitted it out. Starting with the CPU then, for this build I've gone with the Intel Core Ultra 9 285K. And to pair with it we have this Z890 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 Ice motherboard. And I'm really looking forward to using this because it's got this fully ice white design. For the GPU, Aorus have also sent over their RTX 5090 Master Ice. So not only is it going to look super clean, but we're going to be able to run games at their absolute maximum. For the RAM, Corsair have sent over 32 gigs of their Dominator Titanium DDR5, and this is actually what I also use in my editing PC. And because DDR5 works better with 2 sticks, they've also sent over their light enhancement kit for the aesthetics as well. For the SSD, they've sent over their MP700 Elite M.2 with a 2TB capacity and speeds up to 10,000 MBS read and 8500 MBS write. For the cooling, Corsair have gone all out here too. Firstly, we have the iQ Link Titan 360 RX LCD AIO, and this thing is going to look super cool in this build. Then to go with that, they've also sent a bunch of their RX 120 Max RGB fans, and what's cool about these is you can daisy chain them using magnets, and the magnets are actually so strong that the boxes stick together. Because you know we've always got to spice it up with RGB, they've also sent this LS430 Aurora lighting kit so we can add that little bit of extra colour and pop to the build. Then to power it all, they've sent over their RM1000X power supply. They were originally going to send over the 1200X, but there weren't any in stock, so they've sent this one over and it should do the trick for the time being. And then finally, of course, we have the case. As you can see, it's from their Frame 4000 series. Specifically, this is the Frame 4000D, and we've gone with the all-white version with the mesh front panel for extra cooling. And this case is super clean. The all-white case is obviously going to look great with all the white parts, and with it mounted on the wall, you're going to have a nice view inside the PC of all the cool internals. And with the mesh panels on the top and the front, we're also going to get great airflow and cooling, so the temperatures will be nice and chilly too. We have 3 pre-installed fans, and obviously I have 9 more, so I'm going to decide exactly what kind of configuration I want to do as I go along. But there you go, that is our gear for the new PC build. So all that's left to do really is to crack on and put the build together. So first we'll start with the motherboard assembly. We've got this Z890 Elite Wi-Fi 7 Ice motherboard, and man, this thing is so damn clean. Not only do we have the lovely white and silver design, but the actual PCB being white too really brings the whole thing together. Definitely one of the cleanest boards I've used. So the first step is to install our Intel Core Ultra 9 285K CPU, And if you're wondering why I went with this one, I had one lying around. So now we can carefully line it up and pop it into the socket on the motherboard. Next, we're going to install our Dominator DDR5 RAM. Gotta say, I'm a big fan of the design of these. Like I mentioned, I already use them in my editing PC and they look so good. So let's get our 2 sticks of RAM and 2 light enhancement sticks into the motherboard as well. With the CPU and RAM installed, next up is the MP700 SSD, and this is going to be lightning fast. A great thing with this board is the fact that you don't need any tools or screws. The heatsink simply unlatches and then you can slot in the SSD and then click the heatsink back into place. So with the CPU, RAM and SSD installed into the motherboard, we can bring in the 4000D case and lower in our motherboard assembly and screw it into place. With the motherboard assembly now secured, the next thing we're going to install is the AIO cooler with the radiator mounted in the top. One thing that's really cool about this case is that it has this bar here and it actually has an adjustable slider for different size fans. So it's currently set to 140, but we're going to be using 120 fans, so we need to slide it across to fit our radiator. And now we can bring in our iQ Link Titan 360 RX LCD AIO, which is a bit of a mouthful. Now, although this cooler already comes with the RX 120 RGB fans installed, we are actually going to be switching these out for these ones. And that's because these fans are 25mm thick, but these ones are 30, so we're going to get better airflow and performance out of these than we would with the ones that were originally on there. So now we can unscrew the fans from the radiator, then daisy chain our RX 120 Max fans and screw those onto the radiator in their place. So the new fans are installed onto the radiator and the cooler is ready to go into the build, but we won't be doing that just yet. Because first I'm also going to swap these fans out for the RGB Max ones, because if I do it after the cooler's been installed, it will make it a lot harder for me to get to them. First we need to remove the front panel and dust filter from the case. Then we can unscrew and remove the 3 case fans, before taking our 3 RX 120 Max fans and screwing those in their place. Then we can pop the dust filter back in and then click the very nice looking front panel back on top. And now we can take our radiator and mount it into the top of the case and carefully screw it into place. The next job then is to connect the pump head. So we'll remove this panel from the back so we can add in the retention bracket. Now, 2 things that make life easier here is that 1, it comes with the Intel bracket already pre-installed and we're using an Intel CPU, so we don't have to worry about that. And as you can see, it already has pre-applied thermal paste in this cool Corsair pattern, so we can simply pop the pump head on and we don't have to add any of our own. And there we go then, we now have the motherboard and cooler installed and the build is starting to take shape. And I've got to say, I think it's looking very clean so far. So the next job is to install the power supply, and this has some pretty cool features. The first is that the ports are now located on the near side, making plugging everything in so much easier. And another thing is you might notice the connectors on here are much smaller than you'd see on most power supplies. And you can see that if you compare the motherboard end of the cable to the one that goes into the PSU. And these are the new Type 5 cables from Corsair, which are much smaller and more compact, which again makes plugging everything in far easier. So let's get the PSU slotted into the case and then screw it in. Then we can quickly and easily plug all of our cables into the side of the PSU. Now comes the boring and fiddly part of plugging everything into the motherboard, so we'll skip past that. And with that all done, we still have some space for more fans up at the rear and also in the bottom of the case. And we have 3 fans left over, so let's get those installed. And there we go then, the build is pretty much done now and looking very nice. So the final piece of the jigsaw is this Aorus Master Ice 5090. I've been looking forward to getting my hands on one of these for a long time. Look at that, it actually comes with its own cooling fan. But yeah, not only is this one of the beefiest cards performance wise, it is an absolute work of art and one of the best looking cards out there. I mean, I don't have to say anything else, the pictures speak for themselves. Also, this card weighs a ton. But anyway, before we can install it, we need to remove these slots from the back of the case, before carefully lining up the graphics card and slotting it into the motherboard and screwing it in. And there we go, in terms of major components, the PC build is now fully assembled and it is absolutely beautiful. I did mention earlier about having this lighting kit from Corsair and I was going to put it inside the PC, but it doesn't quite fit. And I did also think about mounting underneath for an underglow, but I've decided to just leave it for now. So instead, all that's left to do is install the IQ cables. Now, parts like the cooler and all of the fans use IQ Link. So we're going to plug everything into this little hub, and it simply magnetically sticks to this little slot on the back, and then we can plug every single cable into that and we're good to go. Now we can put the top and back panels back onto the case, as well as the glass panel, so you know what time it is. So now let's put the PC into the gaming setup and test if it boots up. And we are pros here, so of course it does, and it is looking fantastic. As I said before, I'm so happy with the way this build has turned out, and it looks even better than I'd pictured it. The parts have just come together so cleanly, and the overall build is just beautiful. So now it's time to actually get the PC mounted up behind the monitor. I've installed this shelf onto the wall, so now we need to take the PC and put it up over there on the shelf. I'm not gonna lie, this is the most nervous I've ever been wall mounting something, because the walls in here are quite questionable, but thankfully it stayed up. And here we go then, here is the finished look. The PC build looks great, but it looks even better mounted up on the wall behind the monitor. And I'm not gonna lie, it's just so nice to see the sim powered back up after so many months of just sitting idle. The whole setup is looking amazing, and I am really happy with how this project has turned out. But we might have the PC up and running and the monitor up and running, but the sim itself isn't, because I can't actually find the power cable for the wheelbase, so this is currently still not in use. But something tells me that's not gonna matter, but that's a story for another video. But yeah, the main thing is the PC is finished and all set up. The sim is pretty much set up with just a few additions still to put in. Let me know any thoughts you have on the new setup and of course the new PC build. And if you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to drop a like so the algorithm knows. And make sure to sub so you don't miss any future videos, because I have some cracking stuff coming up, let me tell you. But yeah, thank you guys ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you very soon in the next video. See you later.